Ouais, l'équipe. Alors, attendez, tac. Hop. Aujourd'hui, nouveau petit let's play. Ouais, pas la musique. Oh putain, y'a rien sur cette scène. Hop, merde. Ouais. On est bien là. In Hollywood is when somebody cries. Dun, 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 dun. People come out here to chase their dreams. Dreams come here to die. Aujourd'hui, petit let's play sur What Remains of Edith Finch. Les gars, je prends vraiment des jeux au pif. Hein. On va lancer le jeu. Là, j'ai peur. Wesh. Edith Finch. Elle a un plâtre déjà.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Je vais juste commencer par le début de la maison. Je vais voir si je peux pas changer les... Oh putain, c'est un... Ok. Edith, Milton, Lewis, Gus, Gregory, Sanjay. Ok, il y a un joueur Valo. It's a woman with a sign. Les graphiques. Ah putain, je peux pas changer les touches. Que je peux jouer à la manette. Let's make cool, espèce me change. Ah, je peux jouer à la manette, ok.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half
J'ai
the
vécu
rooms.
ici jusqu'à ce que j'ai 11 ans. Je n'étais pas autorisé à aller dans la moitié des salles. Des chambres, des salles. On va jouer clavier souris, hein. C'est bon, même si on est même si c'est encore chi.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Dans la boîte aux lettres, il y avait des factures de putain d'il y a 7 ans. Putain frère, je peux pas changer la langue. Parce que le temps que je traduise. Le temps que je traduise et tout. Bon. Le cerveau il est pas très vif pour traduire. Genre, je comprends la phrase. Et pour traduire. Je suis pas venu depuis. Je suis pas venu depuis les funérailles de mon frère Lewis. C'est compliqué aujourd'hui l'anglais.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
Dans son testament, ma mère m'a laissé une clé, mais ne m'a pas dit à quoi elle servait. Mais ne m'a pas dit. Elle nique sa mère. Peut-être elle savait que j'allais savoir. Peut-être elle pensait que j'allais savoir. Ou elle pensait que le mystère allait être assez pour me ramener. Bon, c'est approximatif, hein. Je vais remettre la caméra là, j'ai joué. He said I've been taking 7 years and every night I shed a tear cause I don't know if anybody cares about the music that I write cause it's the story of my life. One day I will be a millionaire. Est-ce qu'on a déjà des infos du coup? Il y a son frère, il s'appelle Lewis. Ok, donc c'est lui. Ok. Ils sont tous morts? Ils sont tous morts sauf Edith.
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
Personne n'a conduit ici depuis longtemps, mais je vois des traces de pas. Wesh, il y a un cerf, quand même. Un cerf? Je sais pas, les gars. Some cool, spare, some change. Pour l'instant, le jeu est bien. La
Even
vérité
after I
est que,
inherited the house,
même après avoir
I never thought I'd come back to it.
hérité de la maison, je pensais que j'allais ne jamais revenir.
But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Mais maintenant, j'ai des questions à propos de ma famille que seule la maison a les réponses. Possède les
The
réponses.
house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
La maison était exactement comment je me rappelais. La même façon de comment j'en rêvais. La même façon que dans mes rêves. C'est
As
quoi
a
cette maison,
child,
frère?
the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
En étant enfant, la maison m'était tellement inconfortable que je pouvais pas le dire avec des mots. Quelqu'un peut m'amener le coussin pour Taiko? Le coussin pour Taiko? Attention, Taiko. Hop, hop.
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly
Maintenant,
what
à
those
17
words
ans,
were.
je savais
was
exactement
afraid
ce
of
que
the
ces mots
house.
étaient. J'étais effrayé par la maison.
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
Je pensais que j'espérais que la clé allait ouvrir la porte la porte d'entrée, mais non. Non.
Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
En regardant dedans, j'ai l'impression que la maison attendait elle-même pour moi. M'attendait. Oh, c'est approximatif, hein, j'ai pas le temps de bien traduire. Missing? Wesh. I've been singing 7 years and every night I shed a tear. So I don't know if anybody cares about the music that I write, 'cause it's the story of my life. One day I will be a millionaire. Wesh. Ah putain, je croyais que c'était un truc à toucher, mais non, c'est juste un trou dans la barrière. Ah ok, on rentre par la chatière en balle.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Passer à travers la porte pour les chiens. Passer à travers la chatière, C'était beaucoup plus simple quand j'avais 11 ans. En gros, toute sa famille est morte et on doit découvrir ce qui s'est passé, frère. Parce que, déjà, rien que la maison, elle est bizarre, gros. Ils sont tous morts giga jeunes. Attends, mais quoi? Ok, lui, il est mort à 53 ans. Ils sont tous morts giga jeunes. Il a vécu 1 an. Wesh. 57. 1917 à 2010. Elle a vécu 87 ans. 87? 83 ans. Attends. 93 ans. Elle a vécu 16 ans. Lui 10, elle 10. Lui 11. 33. 53. 1 an. 13 ans. En fait, ils ont tous vécu jeunes. Genre, il n'y en a aucun qui a dépassé. Il n'y a que elle qui a dépassé les 160 ans. 92 à 2003.
For the first time in years,
La première fois depuis des années.
I felt like I was home.
Je me suis senti à la maison.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
La table était toujours en bordel depuis la nuit qu'on est parti. Depuis la nuit où on est parti.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Ma mère était la seule d'entre nous.
It was like a bomb had
penser.
gone off, killing
sa mère.
everyone but sparing the furniture.
Quoi? Killing everyone but sparing the furniture. Donc quoi? Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui sont morts la même année? 1 an d'écart quand même. Eux aussi. Pas changer la vitesse des textes au moins?
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Elle a dit qu'il n'y a rien qui paraît d'anormal, mais que c'est quand même dérangeant. Genre comme un sourire avec trop de dents. Comme un sourire où on voit trop les dents.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't
Maman m'a
too
toujours dit de ne
surprised
pas
when
aller
the
dans la
key didn't
cave.
fit.
Donc j'ai pas été surpris quand j'ai vu que les clés ne l'ouvraient pas. Oh!
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the
Papy
house.
Sven a construit une boîte à musique pour Barbara. Je sais pas ce que ça veut dire en langue. Wesh, mais une maison qui est clôturée, frère. Enfin, une porte qui est condamnée.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Je vous cache pas, j'ai un peu la flemme de traduire la vitesse où ça va, frère. Kelvin. Ah, ok, c'est les chambres. Grégory. Quand chacun est mort, la chambre, elle était condamnée, genre? À la mort de chacun, la chambre, elle est condamnée? What the fuck, toutes les photos.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Oh, mais c'est une star, ça, la sœur? Barbara Finch. La chambre de Barbara. 1944-1960. Mesquine, elle a vécu 16 ans, frère.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
Y a que sa chambre qui est ouverte.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Oh, mais non, la clé c'est pour ouvrir un livre, ils se foutent de ma gueule.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
Wesh.
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Maintenant c'est le temps de trouver à propos de quoi ma mère était effrayée.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea what was behind that door.
Wesh. Une petite fille kidnappée?
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
La chambre de Molly.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Mais il y a la mer. Bon. Je n'ai rien d'autre à faire là. Ah mais je suis bloqué? Ok, je suis bloqué là. En balle. Il y a des touches. Comment je sors? Non, pas par la porte. Oh, les bzaises. Bref. Merde, j'ai 17 ans, je peux plus. Ah. Le journal intime de Molly Finch.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone
Cher
soon,
journal,
but I wanted to tell somebody
je vais
about
bientôt
what's gonna
partir,
happen.
mais j'ai envie de
It
te parler
started
de
when Mom
quoi
sent
il
me
va
to
se passer,
bed
de ce dont il va se
without
passer.
dinner.
Ah
I woke
merde,
up
mais
and I was starving.
laissez-moi
So I
traduire,
looked
laissez-moi.
around
Gros, je
for
dois me
something
dépêcher
to
pour
eat.
traduire, parce que c'est chiant. Oh putain, on est dans un souvenir là. On est dans un souvenir de Molly Finch.
I kept eating and eating.
Elle bouffait de dentifrice.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Wesh. Ouais.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
Et wesh, mais ils sont
My
enfermés quand ils vont
Halloween
dormir.
candy was all gone.
C'est quoi cette famille, gros?
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
Mais que... Mais quoi?
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
C'est quoi ça?
I
Oh,
jumped
putain.
and I almost got I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl.
Ah mais c'est quoi?
All
Ah
I
non mais...
heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
C'est quoi ça, frère?
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Mais wesh. Il a gobé le lapin.
A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Non mais c'est... Oh, c'est quoi ce bordel? Ah bah ouais, là, maintenant tu peux pas faire grand chose. Hein.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
Wesh, elle m'avait ski.
Grabbed on tight. And I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Je suis quoi? Mais c'est quoi ce bordel? Je fasse quoi, frère?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
Mais elle a pété un câble, la gosse, frère.
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
Le frère?
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't. After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
C'est quoi ce bordel?
I got closer and closer.
C'est sa chambre. Je peux pas monter.
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Était un vrai frère.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Ok, donc on a complété Molly. Maintenant, faut pour tous. Attends, mais c'est sa mort? On doit apprendre à chacun comment chacun est mort, là? On doit apprendre comment chacun est mort?
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here.
J'ai un frisson, frère.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom. Her room was like a museum.
Odin. Odin.
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Ta mère.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it
Ok.
goes back a long ways.
Ok. Il faut voir ce qui est arrivé à tout le monde. Sven, Edith. Quoi à faire?
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long time.
Oh!
When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
Tué par un dragon?
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Oh, c'est quoi ce salle de bain de con, frère? Il y a une chaise dans le pied.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Putain. The only time it rains in Hollywood is when somebody cries. Bam, 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 bam. Faut que je ressors par la fenêtre? Non. Dreams come here to die. Oh putain de con. Oh putain, j'avais pas vu. Mais notre clé elle ouvre tout, frère, je veux.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard.
Oh, vous voyez pas, mes frères, je fais des mouvements avec regardez là, je monte ma souris vers le haut.
It's hidden in this book.
C'est trop bien, c'est trop stylé, frère.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Calvin. Alors, mon petit Calvin.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
Il a vécu 11 ans, lui.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
Oh, c'est l'image que j'ai mis sur Discord.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Ça fait que me balancer de toute façon.
Dinner's ready. Coming.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
Il va sauter.
I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Alvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here.
Wesh.
But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Laisse envoler.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
C'est que des gosses débiles en fait. Le micro, c'est pas possible. Pour l'instant, la seule mort cohérente, c'est
Calvin's
Odin.
story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing. After the funeral, Edith roped off Calvin's half of the room.
C'est quoi, regardez là. What the fuck?
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Chambre de Barbara. Ouais, dans la chambre de Barbara en fait. Je dis pas qu'il y a un sous-titre. Non mais.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edith saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch.
Oh putain.
As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room.
Pas possible.
So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
Bon, on retient ça, on retient ça.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue.
On va se faire hagar dans la cave.
She reached for the music box.
Oh, putain, on doit faire le truc.
And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Du sang par terre.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Oh putain.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Wesh. Ah non, qu'est-ce que c'est de la cible, c'est une variante. Ça, c'est peut-être pas celui de son mec.
The old Finch rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
C'est son mec.
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Oh là là,
I'm
quel
not
trou de
scared,
cul.
Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Le jeu, c'est
Walter?
What Remains
What's
of
going on?
Edith Finch. En gros, on a cet arbre généalogique. On doit parcourir leur ancienne maison pour découvrir ce qui est arrivé à toute la famille. Donc elle est morte. Frérot, un jour, elle s'est transformée en chat, puis en hibou, puis en requin, puis en monstre. Le monstre qui allait se cacher sous son lit, elle s'est réveillée. Voilà, donc elle a vécu 10 ans. Lui, il faisait des tours avec la balançoire et bah, il est tombé dans la mer. Et lui, c'est le plus cohérent, juste il est mort comme as. Voilà. Il était enterré.
There. Ah! Okay.
Mais en vrai, le jeu, il est vraiment
Cover it
quali.
up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Sur les escaliers. Je me chie dessus.
Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was
Ouais, mais là, c'est juste pour ce
Orcas
personnage-là.
Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and
En gros,
windows
je
and
joue dans
notify
la
the
BD.
police of any suspicious
Et
activity.
c'est que pour ce personnage. Oh putain.
Barbara turned, saw the hookman, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And you know he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara. There's
Ok,
gotta be
peut-être que j'ai
another way out
vraiment-
of here.
Oh, le tarpé.
She played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned.
Voilà, regarde, fils de pute. Oh, t'es grand mort.
He wasn't
Oh, l'abus.
moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
Ah, je vais t'enculer. Viens là, je vais te niquer. Viens là, viens là. Viens là. Viens là, sale fils de...
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was...
Eh frère, c'est pas censé être un jeu de mon frère.
At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming inside the house.
Oh dear.
Faut dire.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she
Les gros, ils
saw
sont
what
tous juste
kind of
défoncés.
monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box was all they ever found of her. Her ear.
Oh putain.
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Quel trou du cul. C'est du jeu de mots là. Voilà. Donc nous en gros on joue la dernière meuf vivante de cette
Edith told
famille.
me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Et les mouvements que je fais avec la souris c'est raccord avec le jeu. Genre là pour fermer le livre j'ai dû bouger ma souris vers la gauche. C'était pas juste un bouton. Ça c'est stylé je trouve.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box. Edie's father Odin built the original house.
Est-ce qu'il faut aller maintenant? Chambre de qui ça? Molly on a déjà fait.
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
Venez, on va voir la boîte à musique. Enfin, merde. Putain, mais ça joue cette musique? Putain, ça joue la même musique que dans le menu. J'aimerais quitter, s'il vous plaît. Oh putain. Ouais, là, on n'a pas peur, nous. On n'a pas peur.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Le jeu met l'ambiance, frère. Je me chie dessus alors que c'est pas un jeu d'horreur.
She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive the week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly.
Almost friendly, yeah.
And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can.
Ok. Je sais pas où on va, mais...
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun.
Oh là, il y a un train qui va arriver sur cette... Mais qu'il est con, c'est pas possible, putain de merde. Oh là là.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
Ah ouais.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself.
Elle a dit qu'il restait plus que un de leur famille, ou peut-être deux.
But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
Qu'il est con ce Walter.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me.
C'est Sword.
But I thought you should know about your family.
Non, frère.
And the history you're a part of.
Elle parle à qui, frère? Je peux qu'aller vers la mer, là. Fais quoi? Il est là-bas?
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now.
Elle parle à
I
quelqu'un,
think
frère.
the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
Mm.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Non, on va vraiment se Sword. Mais non. Non, faut descendre. Ah, ok, on va au cimetière.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Bah, super. Ils finissent tous par pi. Par pi.
Sven built the house, but it was Edith who designed the cemetery.
Walter Finch. Edith Finch. Sven Finch. Calvin Finch. Molly Finch.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from.
Je vais baisser les lumières. Voilà.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
J'ai eu, je crois. Il faut monter. On dirait une fin, mais ça fait qu'une heure qu'on joue, frère.
If she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Quoi? Elle est enceinte? Mais par son bébé? Mais elle a 17 ans, frère. Ah, il y a une échelle là-bas, putain, je suis con.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
Attendez.
They were both pretty intense.
Bah, c'est la chambre de ses
Instead of
parents.
hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Mais je te l'ai dit tout à l'heure, chouchou. Faut découvrir ce qui est arrivé à sa famille. Parce qu'ils sont tous morts. Enfin, genre, ils sont tous morts jeunes. En tout cas. Il n'y en a qu'un seul qui a dépassé les 60 ans.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged. Perfect.
Un peu con, chouchou.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
Flashbang.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
Aw. You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Quoi là?
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
Il est en train de pisser.
That's a keeper. Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't
Parce
been
que
out
je
here in
prends en
20
photo.
years. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph?
Prends tout en photo, ça.
Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa's Fen taught us how to fish, how to build a fire.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
où ce con?
Dad, I...
Wesh. Ah ouais, ça prend des proportions.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything.
Allez, bute le fils de pute. Bute ce fils de pute. Bute-le ce fils de neuil.
Keep yourself squared up, elbows down, like we practiced. Whenever you're ready.
Non! T'as failli
Great
vraiment prendre ma
shot,
photo.
Dawn.
Ouais, je dis Freedhammer, frère.
I'm proud of you, Dawn.
Non, c'est un
Always
fou
remember
furieux.
that, okay?
Dad,
T'es obligé, sa gosse.
it's twitching.
Oh.
I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about.
Dad!
Shit!
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Oh putain de merde. Shit!
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
La chambre de Grégory. Oula, la tête de bébé elle fait peur, frère. Grégory, c'est lequel? Grégory, celui qui a vécu un an, en balle. Grégory, Dawn, Angus. Divorce contract. Sam Finch.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like.
C'est quoi ça? Mais je joue à tes souris, frère.
So much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination.
J'arrive à retourner à la banane.
That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Il va mourir à cause du savon.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could.
No.
Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
Il a 1 an, frère, il va rien entendre.
the world he saw?
Il va se noyer.
There's so much I don't understand.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
About everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And
Bon, il est pas happy, là, il est mort.
happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Quoi? Quoi? Grégory. Voilà, là. Il nous en reste 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Là, je pense qu'on va finir le jeu dans ce live. Wesh.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. I can't imagine what it was like. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Ok, Sanjay, c'est le nouveau mec de la daronne.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal, but it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th.
Il m'en reste 6. 1, 2... Ah non. Ah non. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Il m'en reste 5.
Birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Ah, moi, je joue quasi à 0 jeux en ce moment. C'est...
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings. Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Le pinceau magique. Merde. C'est trop stylé, frère. Je dois faire le mouvement vers la droite avec ma souris pour défiler plus vite. Merde. Oh putain, je suis un trou du cul. Ah, le pinceau magique, putain, je suis beau. Ouais, ouais.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Ouais, il a disparu. On sait pas s'il est mort. Mais il avait 9 ans. Il avait 11 ans, my bad. Plus que 3.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Alors, c'est qui le prochain?
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
C'est quoi cette maison, frère?
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and
Gus.
yet...
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
La maison, c'est une parasite, vraiment.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
Là, c'est moi qui contrôle le...
I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met me,
Putain, comment ça
need a
s'appelle?
stepmom were the words that
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
Le cerveau. Faire quoi là? Wesh.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Il a fait un fuck.
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
T'as comparé à Journey, frère, le jeu il est masterclass. Hein.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Alors, ça commence à partir en couille là.
Thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, make the music louder.
Ouais, un peu plus dynamique. Ouais. Surtout, il y a un vrai contexte, genre. On dirait un livre. Ouais. Bah, en fait, on voit les souvenirs de plusieurs personnes. On voit les souvenirs de la mort des gens.
Just you, the wind, the sea and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
Till I found her. Gus. Mort dans un orage.
Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name
Il reste plus
Gus.
qu'Eddie et Lewis. Alors, elle est où maintenant? Until I found her, I said I will never fall unless it's you I fall into. Bruh. Attends, je te dis comment ils sont tous morts. Lui, il est mort. Bah, il a disparu, on sait même pas s'il est mort. Lui, là, on vient de voir. Grégory, il s'est noyé. Molly s'est fait buter par un monstre. Barbara s'est fait buter par des monstres. Lui, il faisait de la balançoire et il voulait s'envoler, alors il s'est jeté dans la mer, ce con. Bah, lui, t'as vu, il s'est fait pousser par le cerf. Lui, il était exploité dans la cave et un jour il est sorti, sauf qu'il s'est pris un train dans la gueule. Vu qu'il était sur un chemin de fer et ce con, il avait pas... Et lui, bah, il s'est juste fait... J'ai pas compris comment il est mort. Ouais, je sais pas, frère. Je sais pas où faut que j'aille, hein. Until I found her, I said I would never fall unless it's you I fall into. La chambre de Edith. Il reste que la grand-mère et le deuxième frère. Lewis et Eddie. Ah non, il reste Dawn aussi. Il en reste 3. Bah, je sais pas. Je sais pas, faut que j'aille là en plus. On va faire double F5 là pour... Bref. Ah merde, c'est vrai, je suis arrivé, j'ai sauté. Oh là là. Ah, je peux pas y retourner. Il faut que je reste là. On peut pas aller plus vite que ça par contre. Hein. Depuis le début. En gros, le contexte, c'est... elle, c'est la dernière. Et dans l'héritage qu'elle a eu de quand sa mère est morte, sa mère, c'est... Dawn. Je crois que c'est Dawn. Sa mère, elle lui a donné les clés de la maison. Les clés... Non, pas les clés de la maison. Elle lui a donné des clés. Et elle voulait qu'elle retourne à la maison. Elle a fait top 1, ouais, voilà. En gros. J'allais où, frère T'imagines, t'es nul en escalade, tu peux même pas aller dans ta chambre. Non. Missing. On vient d'y aller, frère. Faut aller où? Ouais. Mais où? Après, ça se trouve, il n'y a pas un ordre précis pour les faire. Bah, hé, Mascar! Pas un jambé? Oh putain, j'avais pas vu l'escalier là.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Ah. Grosse ambiance. Gros, il y a un bateau sur la... Non mais... Oh putain de merde. C'est pour un distributeur automatique, mec.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Marijuana. Tu fumais de la marie-jeanne en bangs en... Attends que ma connexion éclatée. Ah. Tu demandes pas la fibre à tes parents. Ça
Dear
existe la
Mrs.
fibre en
Finch,
Angleterre?
as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
Bah c'est des poissons, après ils sont déjà morts. Hein. Vous voyez de ma main? Obligé, il va y avoir un truc avec le truc à gauche là, à droite. Avec le truc qui coupe. Bah je peux pas, j'ai essayé, je peux pas. Et du coup...
Wonder.
Ah putain. Fallait que je bouge, j'avais pas capté.
I asked him to describe it. He said he
Ça c'est dans le même
started
temps.
small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
Wesh.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously.
Enfin, du jeu inspiré de Ferren, vraiment. Imagine.
I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried
Ok, on
about
passe à de
him
la...
then, daydreaming at the cannery.
Reste 3D.
I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis
Oh
Topia.
putain. C'est corda avec le poisson que je coupe en plus. Ouais, la zone
Built
devait
the
être
city
plus
up
grande.
slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something.
Là, je comprends le perso à gauche avec le touche, quoi.
Every day his
C'est
imagination
encore chill
grew
depuis le
strong.
début du jeu, c'est trop chiant, quoi. Je peux pas changer les touches. Waouh.
He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in
Au bout d'un
his
moment, il va y avoir un
imagination,
moment d'inattention, ça va lui couper la main.
so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won.
Excuse-nous, Mario.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
What the fuck?
He'd conquer a city, then immediately push
Oh,
on.
nique sa mère, les poissons.
New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Je l'ai bien fait, frère. Conquérir physiquement les buts des jeux mobiles. Vraiment, frère. Hein.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Nous, on n'est pas gay ici. Hein.
handsome queen.
Mais ils ont combien de poissons, frère?
The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows.
Oh, les bisounours.
He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Frère, là,
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
What the fuck?
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
Ah, jamais de couper. Non, mais c'est moi là qui dois faire, frère. Sinon, ça cache l'écran.
Someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him.
C'est moi qui coupe depuis tout à l'heure, chouchou.
Was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue.
Vraiment. Voilà. Oh, la fausse porte. Ah, on a la poissonnerie.
He began to forget the world we know.
Les transitions, elles sont vraiment bien, frère, du truc. Hein. Du jeu. Les transitions dans le jeu, elles sont vraiment bien.
To remember Louis, the cannery worker.
Ça fait pas un poisson, je parle. Non, moi je pense qu'il y aura un truc
He
avec
began
la...
to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Allez, on va dans le truc comme
I
ça.
still
Oh,
thought I
putain.
could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Oh putain. Les transitions, c'est pour m'abattre.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on
Oh, y'a un
advising.
chat.
His queen waited, holding his crown.
Voilà. Alors, de bien aimer manger la console de la commune.
There was only one thing left
Le son du jeu, il est bad fort, frère.
to do.
Est-ce qu'il est trop fort, le son du jeu, chouchou?
Bend down his head.
Nice!
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Mes sincères condoléances.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Je sais pas, frère, ICS World. Plus que deux. Le KG est down. Donc la mère et la grand-mère. La mère, on va la faire en dernière, je pense. Ça va être la dernière, je pense. Attends, mais est-ce que c'est dans l'ordre? Non. Pas du tout dans l'ordre.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
He died a lot.
On the way back from
Watch
Lewis's
time,
funeral,
right?
my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
La chambre d'Edith. Je pense.
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. What happened that night had been coming for a long time.
En gros, il s'est passé un truc une nuit qui a fait qu'ils sont tous partis. Et gros, j'ai envie de savoir ce que c'est.
But it
Vas-y.
had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell
Une
you
fin, quoi
about
qu'il en
that
soit.
last night.
Genre la grand-mère, elle venait, elle montait... Ah non, c'est sa chambre à elle. C'est la chambre de notre perso. Comment ça, j'ai grandi? Hein?
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Moi, genre la salle, j'ai trouvé, elle était plus petite par rapport à ton perso. Ah bah oui. Je crois qu'elle a dit elle avait 11 ans quand elle est partie de la maison, et là on a 17. Ok, donc là c'est nous
The
enfants.
power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
Ouais, ça gueule, hein.
Edith
Wesh, on dirait la bibliothèque un peu dans Stray.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
Là, on est... Ah non, c'est la grand-mère. La grand-mère et la madrée.
Okay?
History of the Finches by Edith.
There's so many stories I
by
wish I
Edith
could
Finch.
tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
On a la peau de la grand-mère là?
It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
Et every day of your life, brother, you're very old, hein. 93 ans, la grosse.
But I never thought I'd go back to it.
La gosse, pas la grosse. Je suis pas grossophobe,
When
voilà.
the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Elle va se réveiller au trou du cul du monde.
Turned around.
Hein?
I started seeing things.
J'ai vraiment eu peur du cerf, frère.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night,
C'est
a
stylé les
lot of
textes, frère.
things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Mhm.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again.
Bye 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 bye.
The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
Donc elle aussi elle a disparu. On sait pas comment elle est morte. Grand-mère Edith. Comment elle est morte. Il y en a d'autres dont on sait pas comment ils
We
sont morts.
both
Hein.
tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot.
J'ai stylé, frère. Je viens juste après une pub, t'étais perdu dans la fumée, là t'es en
The rest
voiture.
happened pretty quickly.
Faut payer un sub, chouchou.
She got better for a while.
Ouais, sa mère elle est morte parce qu'elle était malade.
She didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive.
Le dernier Finch laissé en vie.
Until I found out about you.
Jusqu'à ce que je te retrouve. Jusqu'à ce que je te trouve.
I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this.
Je suis toujours pas sûr
If
de
we
quoi te
lived
dire à propos de
forever,
tout.
maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes.
Ça va trop vite pour... je comprends la phrase, mais je traduis pas aussi vite en français.
All of this is.
Wesh, c'est un œil de Reina, frère. Blind fool.
This journal was supposed to be for you.
C'est sa chatte. C'est le bébé qui sort.
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you.
Mais elle était enceinte.
Tell you all these stories
Enfin, elle est
myself.
enceinte. Alors qu'elle a 17 ans. Ça baise, hein.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Isn't Finch. C'est son gosse. L'histoire par Sparrow géant. Pour tuer Dallas. C'est son fils du coup, bah je pense. Hein. Yann Dallas, Creative Director. Joshua Sarfati, Technical Director. Oh, c'est des photos d'eux en étant enfant? Je crois. Bon. Ils ont pas peur. Bon, après... Ou alors, ça se trouve, c'est des photos d'enfants libres de droit. Hein. Juste stylé, frère. Hein. Il est mieux fait que Stray, mais Stray reste mieux, tu vois ce que je veux dire? Non, pas il est mieux fait, mais genre l'histoire, elle est plus intrigante que Stray. On va remplir ensemble... Ouais, c'est différent. La note. The Finches. Alors. What remains of Edith Finch. Un gameplay comme ça, ouais. Si ça trouve pas le jeu, c'est normal. J'avais jamais entendu parler de ce jeu, moi. T'as vu Michou et Elsa qui se sont séparés, chouchou? What remains of Edith Finch. Ouais, moi non plus. J'ai juste vu ce qu'il a écrit, ce qu'il a mis en story sur Insta, genre... Non, non, c'est bien comme ça. Je crois que ça s'écrit comme ça, je suis pas méchant. Note. Graphisme. 8,5. Hein, parce que c'est moins beau que Stray quand même. Et Stray, j'ai mis 9. Gameplay. Bon, je laisse 8. Histoire. 8. Son. 8. Rejouabilité. 3. Rejouabilité. 8,5 sur 9. T'es con. Rejouabilité 3 parce que je vois pas l'intérêt de refaire le jeu. Genre, tu connais. Bah, voilà quoi. Et du coup, faut faire la moyenne. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8,5 plus 3 fois 2 divisé par 5. Non, fois 2. Ça fait 71 sur 100. On va arrondir à 70. Ça fait 70 sur 100. Voilà. Et Stray, c'était 75. The end. The replay story option is now available. Ah, genre en gros, on peut choisir l'histoire qu'on veut revoir. Ouais, mais après, t'as pas vu comment il montre les morts, quoi. Genre la mort, là... Bah, celle-là de mort, on l'a pas jouée. Celle-là, bah, elle a disparu, on sait pas où elle est, frère. Edith Finch, du coup, elle est morte en 2017. Bon. Eh ben les gars, c'est sur ça que le live va s'arrêter. Voilà, tout simplement. Tac. Voilà. Donc, bon jeu. Elle a vu ma mère, bon jeu, frère. Hein. Voilà, l'équipe. Donc, moi, je vous fais des bisous. Je vous dis peut-être à demain, je sais pas. Je sais pas si j'ai la flemme. Allez, bisous, l'équipe. Ciao, 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 ciao.